Hey there, do you like rice?
If you do, have we got a show for you. Hungry?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, don't worry. There's more where that came from.
Mm. Wow.
Just in case I'm really hungry.
Mm-hmm.
So, did you know that about 486.62 million tons of rice were consumed last year?
I did not know that.
That's a lot of rice.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought it'd be really cool to share with you how they grow rice and harvest it a little bit.
Okay.
And the cool thing is, it's from the Philippines. Now, that rice is not from the Philippines. I'm glad you're enjoying it, though.
Thanks.
Yeah. Okay, well, let's show some pictures
Okay.
of rice in the Philippines.
Yeah.
Let's do that. Here we go. So, here's a nice, beautiful picture of the rice fields on the right. And one of those little, what do we call those things again?
Tricycle?
Yeah, the tricycle.
Mm-hmm.
And the tricycle just driving past. Now, this is a very full rice field, getting close to being ready to harvest. So, growing rice is kind of a complex process, which is funny because we think of rice as being like a simple food. But a lot of people in the world eat it every single day.
So yummy.
It is really tasty. You can do a lot with it.
Americans just don't know what they're missing out on.
And to grow rice, a lot of times you'll see them in terraces. Now, this is kind of like a little mini terrace because you can see in the back it's taller and the front is a little bit shorter. And when the rice isn't all growing there, then you can see kind of the lines a little bit more distinctly. But they'll layer the rice fields so that they can flood them. They'll flood the top level with a lot of water, and then when they're ready to drain it, then they'll drain it into the next part, and the next part and just kind of work down. It works best on a mountain, not quite as great on a flat area. But this is how they grow rice in more of a flat area.
And it really tastes yummy.
You're really going to down all that rice.
No, I'm not.
They need a lot of water to do this, though. So this is from the Philippines, too. And you can see the rice fields back kind of in the distance on the other side. But this is kind of like a water canal, so then they can make sure they can get water to the places they need it to go. And there's something about this picture that's going to be really interesting to you in a little bit. We'll come back to it, though. So let's get back to the rice, though. So here's the rice up a little closer. It doesn't quite look like Joshua's bowl of rice here. They're all green. But the rice all grows really close together in a lot of water, and it takes about 3 to 6 months or so before that rice is going to be ready for them to harvest it. And here it's super bright green, but in time it'll change to more of a yellow. I don't have a picture of it exactly yellow, but this picture does kind of show how it's hanging down a lot more. So the rice is going to get a little bit heavier, and then they'll be ready to pull it. And when they pick it, they're going to pick it by hand, that is some back-breaking work. So here's a nice view of a terrace from like up above. Not quite like the first one I showed you, but more of the traditional thing when you think of rice field.
They took that mountainside and carved rice fields out of the whole thing. And I was trying to look for pictures from when I was in the Philippines 15 years ago when I actually saw these mountains. And unfortunately I couldn't find them, but they are real and they're beautiful.
These ones look like they're just kind of getting started. They're not all super, well, the farther ones look...
There's a few in there, yeah. But
really
those ones right now have either just been harvested or it's growing up through there, yeah. Because it's all water. This one too, a lot of just water.
It's just all kind of divided out. They'll flood it, and you can really see the terraces from this one.
And those houses are not flooded. Kind of looks like a flooded house picture, but that's how they live. They did that on purpose.
They're right next to where they need work. They don't have to go too far. Oh.
And there's a whole mountainside. When we drove through the Philippines 15 years ago, this is what we were driving through. We were just driving along these mountains, and everywhere you looked, there was rice paddies.
So cool.
That's all food right there.
So after they're done being in that rice paddy, they're going to pick it, and take off like the stem part of it, and then they need to dry it. So, any guesses where this is being dried?
In the Philippines.
In the Philippines. They dry it on the
road.
Right on the road. So you're just driving alongside the side of the road is just this little mound of rice all spread out, and they'll go out there kind of with like rakes and rake it over to make sure it gets all the way dried out. And it's out there for like 2 to 3 days, I think is what I read most of the time. But it's just everywhere. So when I was in the Philippines last March, we just stopped alongside the road and got a few pictures of it.
And this is the same rice you eat.
Yeah,
It might
there it
have
is.
been dried on the side of a road.
They still have to process it, but
Well, yeah.
there it is. And then after they're done drying it, then they'll bag it up into these big white bags, and then they might like have a label or design on them. But this bag is a 50-kilo bag. So that translates to about 110 pounds.
Wow.
That is a heavy bag of rice. So let's go back to that picture. I said, hey, there's something kind of to look for in this picture. Now, do you see that kid, like straight, well, maybe not kid, he's maybe a teenager, with the yellow shirt and blue shorts? Do you see what's on his head? How about that bag of rice? Can you imagine sticking a 110-pound bag of rice on your head?
Wow.
The missionaries we were with were like, that's pretty cool, you should take a picture of that. So, the rice is then put into those bags and packaged up. You can see a few different bags there, just right there on the side of the road. And then they'll take it off to get processed the rest of the way and take some of the different parts of it off. But it's quite a complex process to get that rice. So you saw what a field looks like full of rice. After they take the rice out, here's what it's going to look like a little bit emptier. Not quite as bright green and beautiful, but you can kind of see the lines where the terracing has taken place, even in this more plain, like a flat area. But it needs to always stay really wet to be able to grow rice well. And then here's another picture just looking at the flooded field, but
we should have got a
rice.
picture of my sister because she planted rice earlier this year. We should have got a picture of her in here. That's too bad.
Oh, I'm gonna have to feature that some other time.
Uh-huh.
So, if you're in the Philippines or in a lot of places in Asia, you're gonna have like a nice meat dish here, another side dish, and then look at the top. What do you got? A nice big bowl of rice. In Peru, they used to say a meal is not a meal without rice, and I feel like it might be pretty similar in Asia.
And Africa.
And Africa.
And India. And all sorts of places where darker skinned people live.
Where they all like to eat their rice.
Uh-huh.
Oh, this has nothing to do with rice, but I found this
in the
picture
world?
and it just was too funny to pass up. This is a happy Asian with his bowl of halo halo.
There actually might be rice in that halo halo. I can't remember.
Oh, well, then it really does fit. I just wanted to slide it in.
Probably
so
was
it's
not,
funny.
but sometimes they'll put it in there.
It was just too funny. I couldn't help it.
Nice.
So, there was a little story for you about
Yeah.
how rice comes about.
And now that we're done talking about the rice, you can do your missionary story and I'll just...
Save me some.
Mhm.
Don't eat it all. I like fried
I'll eat
rice.
something else. Well, you tell your story.
Okay. I can do that.
Thanks for telling us about the rice.
Yeah.
It's yummy.
Save me some. Don't eat it all.
Okay.
Okay, so back to our story of Tifam. And we left off last time where, and if you missed the story, you better go back and listen to the last one because you don't want to miss anything. I'm just going to review the very end of it because we got too much to cover today. So at the end of the story, Tifam was leaving with the missionaries in a helicopter, and her dad leaned in close and told her, if you listen to those missionaries and if you listen to what they say about God and about the Bible, then I will put a curse on you too. Tifam was a little bit scared about that. So let's keep going with our story today. See what happens next. Well, the helicopter landed over by the mission house, and Tifam saw somebody she recognized right away. It was Granny. Remember, Granny had helped bandage up her mom's foot earlier in the story when her mom slipped. And Granny was so glad to see Tifam, and she took her and she brought her to a nice place so she could rest and start to recover, and helped her with bandaging her arm and her foot and the different things that had been damaged when they had this, well, what happened last time. And as Granny was helping bandage up Tifam. She said, while you're here, we can have some new things for you. We can have a new dress for you, and while you're healing up, you can go to school and you can learn to read. You could learn to read that black book over there, Tifam. I noticed you looking at it when you were here with your mom. Tifam got really nervous again. She remembered what her dad had said if she listened to the missionaries, and she didn't want that to happen. She didn't want to curse on her too. Oh, I don't want to read that book. My dad doesn't want me to know about those things. I don't want to read the Bible, but I do want to learn to read the words. So then after she started feeling better, about the next week or so, she got a new dress and she got to dress up and go to school with the other kids in the nearby area. Now every morning she'd put on her nice beautiful dress and she would tuck her charm inside of her dress. You couldn't see it from the outside, but she still had it on because she didn't want anything bad to happen to her, and she knew she still had to wear it. So she would go to the school and she started to learn to read. She learned to read simple things and harder things, and then they would always have a time though with a Bible story. And Tifam always liked to draw on her desk or look at the clouds and count things outside. She didn't really want to listen. But one day, the teacher was talking about the story of Nicodemus. And Tifam couldn't help but hear pieces of the story. The teacher was explaining that Nicodemus came to Jesus and that he wanted to know what it meant to be born again, and how Jesus said it wasn't becoming a baby again, but it was different. And Tifam thought, born again? What could that mean? And kind of without even thinking about it, she pulled at her charm until it was back into her hands again, and she kept switching hands back and forth as she listened and wondered, what does born again, what does that mean? Well, another girl in the class saw her playing with her charm, and she ran by and whispered, "Devil's helper, devil's helper." Tifam didn't like that idea. She didn't want to be the devil's helper. What was that all about? She grabbed her books and she ran home, and she was crying back to the house where Granny was. And Granny said, "What's wrong, Tifam? Why are you crying?" "They said I'm the devil's helper, and I don't want to be the devil's helper, and I don't know what it means to be born again. I don't know it." And Granny smiled and she said, "It's okay. To be born again is to be part of God's family." "Well, how do I become part of God's family?" Tifam asked. "Well," Granny said, how are you part of your family?" "Well, I was just born to my mom and dad." "Exactly, and that makes you part of their family. So to be part of God's family, you need to trust Jesus as your Savior, and then you get to be part of God's family." Tifam stopped to listen. She didn't cover her ears this time. She listened. Granny said, "First, everybody has to understand that they've done wrong things. And when Jesus talked to Nicodemus about being born again, he explained to him that you can't be born again like a baby, but you have to become part of God's family. And first you have to understand that you've done wrong things. And the Bible says we've all done wrong things, Tifam. We've all broken God's perfect law. And you know what? There's a punishment for what we've done wrong. The Bible tells us that the wages of sin is death. That means that we're really supposed to be separated from God forever because we've done wrong things, and there's not enough good things we can ever do to make up for the bad things we've done." Tifam's face looked really sad as she listened. But Granny smiled. "You know what? There's good news. Jesus died for you. Jesus came to earth and he lived a perfect life, and he died in your place. The Bible tells us that Christ demonstrated his own love toward us, and even when we were sinners, even when we did bad things, he died for us, and he died for you, Tifam, because he loves you." Tifam remembered when her mother really liked hearing about how Jesus loved people. And she listened a little bit more, and Granny said, "Tifam, all you have to do is trust Jesus as your Savior. And you don't have to be afraid anymore. You don't have to wear that charm. You don't have to be afraid of what things will happen to you, or a mudslide, or any of that, because you'll know that you'll have a forever home with Jesus, and you know that he will love you, and he always does love you." Tifam thought, "Oh, but my papa told me that if I listen, that he will put a curse on me, and I don't want to have anything bad happen to me, so I can't do that. I can't trust in Jesus." But Granny said, "No, Jesus loves you, and those evil spirits can't do anything to you.
And remember the curse? Your father put a curse on Victor, and Victor's fine. He's still fine, just doing work and ministry and working in the school. You've seen him. He's fine. Nothing has happened to him. Oh, you're right. Tifam thought a little more. Then she grabbed the charm around her neck. She pulled it off and she threw it on the ground. You know, Granny, I believe. I believe that Jesus died for me. I believe that he loves me and that I don't have to be afraid anymore. I know that Jesus can protect me instead. And Granny gave Tifam a hug and she was so excited. But Tifam was a little scared. What was she going to do when her dad found out someday that she had been listening to the missionaries? Well, Tifam continued to go to school and she was feeling much better, and she even got her own Bible, her own New Testament. And since she could read, little by little she would practice reading out of it, and she always tried to keep it in her pocket so she had it when she had a little time to practice reading. And she loved life so much more when she wasn't scared. She didn't have to wear her charm. She didn't even have it anymore. She knew that Jesus was always caring for her and looking out for her. Well, one day, Tifam's father came to the mission house. He said, Tifam, I need you to come with me. Your sister Rosa and her baby Pierre, they're sick, and I need you to come back to the house with me to help them. Come right away. So Tifam still had her New Testament in her pocket, and she began to walk with her father back toward where their village was. As they got to the edge of the village, Tifam's father stopped. Look, Tifam, I've made the spirits happy. I've built a new temple. They will listen to everything I say and they will protect us. And I will make you a new charm. It looks like yours has broken. But Tifam was too scared. She didn't want to tell her father that she really wasn't going to wear a charm anymore. She didn't want to have anything to do with it. Well, they got back to their home, and Tifam saw her sister Rosa, and Rosa did look very tired. Didn't look like she was feeling well at all. And Tifam had a bag of corn from the missionaries that she gave to her sister. Look, they gave it to us, and we can plant it and grow our own food. And Tifam's sister nodded her head. Yes, we'll have Father do the blessings over the field tomorrow. Tifam said, but he doesn't have to do that anymore. The food will just grow like it's supposed to. We don't need to have him do those things. The spirits don't do anything for us or help us. There's only one true God, and he is in heaven. Rosa looked a little bit scared as she heard Tifam talk. But she didn't say anything. Well, they all went to bed that night, and up the next morning, Tifam could hear her father out in the field chanting and saying things over the field so they could begin the planting. And she heard the baby cry, so she got the little baby and she took him over so he could stay closer to the middle of the house where their fire was for cooking. And then she went outside with the bag of corn to her father so they could begin the planting. He said, I just need to take it up to the temple and we'll have the blessing over the corn, and I will finish your charm today too, Tifam. And then we'll be all good to go. Then Tifam heard a scream. She went back into the house and found that poor baby Pierre had rolled a little bit and had gotten a burn on his arm. So she pulled him out of the fire and she poured some water in the dirt and she mixed it together to make some mud and put it on his skin to help him feel better, but he still was really sad. And Tifam's sister got up, Rosa, and then her dad came limping in because his leg still hadn't healed up from the other part of the story. And they came in to see what had happened. And Tifam said, well, I just set him here to stay warm, and he must have rolled. And Tifam's dad got very angry. The spirits are angry at us because you have gone to the mission house and you are thinking like them and you are not wearing your charm. Here is your new charm. And he handed her a necklace with a little bottle on it. And Tifam looked at it. She didn't want to put it on. She was sure she knew she didn't need to be afraid and she didn't need it anymore. And her father saw her hesitation right away. And he got angry. Tifam, I told you not to listen to those missionaries. I told you not to listen to those people. You shouldn't have gone there in the first place. Tifam reached into her pocket. But God's word, the Bible, it tells us things. It tells us that Jesus loves us. And he grabbed her Bible out of her hand and took it and began tearing the pages out of it and yelling and shouting, this is why all these bad things are happening to our family. You have brought a curse on our whole family. You have ruined us, Tifam, ruined us all. What's going to happen next? And Tifam's family. What about the baby? What about her dad? And the curse that he put on her? And all these things that are happening that are pretty scary. Well, you're gonna have to come back next time to hear the last part of the story. It'll be part number 5. And then we'll get to do another story. So don't think we're done yet. We still got plenty to share. Okay, are you ready?
Yeah, look at these snacks I found.
Oh, that's not rice.
Black Forest gummy bears made with real fruit juice and rice flour.
Oh,
Just kidding. That wasn't good.
I was gonna be impressed.
If you like the shows, send us some gummy bears. Or some jalapeno Cheetos. She likes those even more.
Oh, yeah.
But gummy bears are nice. Okay. Stick those right here. All right, next we are going to tell you about some missionary friends of ours. They are some people that I have known for a while. Alyssa got to meet them for the first time this last year. Mm-hmm. And the outfits we're wearing right now actually came from the country where these people serve. So do you have any guess yet? If you've been to our church, maybe if you've heard us give any kind of presentation or show pictures, you might already know. But if not, we're going to show you right now.
Somewhere nice and fun with lots of color.
And elephants.
Yeah, that too.
Ghana.
Yeah.
Daniel and Karis Mapes. So here is a picture of the Mapes that I took 2 years ago while I was there. They are wearing their traditional Ghanaian outfits. This is on a Sunday. Mr. Mapes' outfit is a lot like the one that Alyssa's wearing right now. And then Mrs. Mapes would be wearing a printed dress, which is very similar to what I'm wearing right now. Except mine's a shirt, not a dress. So, we asked the Mapes if we could share some of their ministry with you. And someday we will tell you more about Ghana when we are finished with the Philippines. So you'll have to see what we can share with you later on. But today, specifically about the Mapes. They live in Wa, Ghana, which, can you show them where about Ghana would be?
Ghana's in West Africa, kind of over here in this region. It's kind of a thin and narrow little country.
Yeah, actually,
about where the W is.
You can't see that it's a W, but we can. So it's right about there. Okay, so let's get back to the Mapes. Alyssa, why don't you read some of the things that they are doing to reach out to the people in their area?
They are telling us that the people of Wa are traditionally Wali, and they're Muslim people. So we make relationships as we greet people in the market or other places that you might meet them in town. This is from the Mapes. They say that last year Mr. Mapes was really sick with malaria, and his roommate was a teenage boy. And when the father came to the room, he asked who they were, obviously, because they're not from Ghana. And when he found out that they were from the village that he mentioned, he said that he used to go there as a boy and play soccer with the boys on the campus, and he mentioned that Mr. Mapes was included in that group. So that was a contact that shows that they're already related and kind of have a relationship with people. Now, 9 months later, Mrs. Mapes was in the market, and a lady was chatting with her and asking her where she lived, and she reminded Mrs. Mapes that they had already met in the hospital when her son was there. So it's not exactly sharing the gospel always, but a lot of times it's building a bridge that hopefully will help you earn a chance to ask a question that will get somebody thinking.
Mm-hmm. These are a few pictures from their town. You can see here maybe the lady in the back of this, it's not really a car, it's kind of like a tricycle in the Philippines. They call these camboos. But anyway, this lady is probably Muslim based on how she is dressed right there. Mm-hmm. Here's another lady from their area. This might be one, I don't know this for sure because I didn't ask, but it might be someone that lives on the campus there with them. But I don't know that for sure, so that could be wrong. A lot of ladies in the area, this is exactly how they would dress. They live on a Bible college campus or a seminary, and they're involved in training nationals to preach the gospel, to plant churches, to evangelize, to make disciples. Mm-hmm. here's a picture of a friend of ours, Olivia Ferguson, there in the blue dress. She was with us in Ghana this last fall, or this last summer. And the lady she is standing with is the lady who made the outfit that I'm wearing. She also made that dress that Olivia's wearing. And her name is Asana, I believe. Mm-hmm. And she is one connection that the Mapes have been able to make because she's this great seamstress. And so they go to her to get clothes made for different people. And as a result of that, they've been able to have some good conversations with her and open the door with her, even though she does not necessarily have the same beliefs that they do. They're building those friendships so that they can share the love of Christ with her.
And she's actually a fashion designer. She showed us pictures when after she made our clothes, and she had pictures of showing stuff like all over the world. And she's won all sorts of amazing awards and stuff for the clothing that she's made, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, and I don't have anything else to add. I did and I forgot. So let's move on.
When she made our clothes, she came and measured us one day, and she brought them to us the next day.
Yeah.
Which was pretty incredible, that fast.
Yep. They were a little small at the beginning, but pretty close, and they were able to fix them right there. Like none of this, here, I'll bring this to you, and I'll come back 2 days later, and it's fixed. They fixed it right there.
And they're sewing by hand, like a hand crank machine,
yeah.
And it's some cool sewing work.
We walked out of there with outfits that fit a little better, and were just great.
Yeah.
So that was cool. One thing that, well, we're going to talk about some of the culture now. And one thing that Mrs. Mapes noticed early on that was interesting was that everyone takes their slippers off when they come into a house. And when we say slippers, we mean flip-flops, sandals, that kind of thing. But if you're wearing shoes, you do not need to remove your shoes. I guess that kind of makes sense. If it's easy to take off, take it off. If it's not, leave it on. But they may have other reasons. Since it is warm, much of the time people will wear slippers or sandals, flip-flops. So I like that a lot. Greeting is very important in their culture. And so when you're there and say somebody else you know comes up, even if you're in the middle of a conversation, you'll stop just briefly to greet them. If you stand there and you just keep talking with the other person and act like they're not there, that's very rude. And so you do that. If someone comes in the house while you're eating a meal, which happened often while we were with the Mapes, we'd all get up from the table, we'd all go and greet them, maybe talk a few minutes, and then go back to eating. But greeting is very important there. You shake hands, not like Peru or Brazil where you go up and give hugs. You shake hands there, which is kind of like here in America. But the lady never initiates the greeting with a man. The guy will stick out his hand first, and then she will shake his hand and do a little curtsy. And also you'll do that with people who are older than you.
As a sign of respect.
Yes. So those are the greetings, and that was something that we got to learn as we went there too. All right, let's talk about school. Now, I asked them to tell us what school is like before the whole virus thing changed everything and the way we live right now. Normally, over there in Ghana, school starts around 8 a.m. and is over by 2 p.m. Sounds very similar.
Close.
But there will be extra classes after 2 o'clock to make sure that you have the best marks in school. Okay? You don't just go to school to go to school. You go to school to get good grades, to learn. The students wear uniforms to school. You can see those in this picture. When you finish junior high, there will be a special test that determines if you qualify to go on to high school, and if so, what would your area of study be? Interesting. The students study for these exams for an entire year in junior high. The majority of the students who qualify for high school will go on to live in the dorms. This is very hard for their spiritual life, as for the next 4 years they are not in church except for things like Christmas, spring break, and summer break. I did not know that. I didn't pick that up while we were over there.
I feel like somebody talked about that, one of the students maybe.
Okay.
How tough it would be.
Summer break is longer than 6 weeks, and Christmas may be 3 or 4 weeks. So you see that our churches need to be sure that our young people are well grounded by the time they complete junior high. If they are not well grounded in their faith by the time they get to junior high and then high school, the chances of them really staying strong are not great when you're only influenced by the world. Can't go to church for all those 4 years, really, except for a few breaks. So that's very important. Important for the families, especially, and then important for the churches to make sure the families are encouraged to do that.
Mm-hmm.
We asked them how we can pray for them this week, how you can pray for them this week. You can pray for protection for all of them in Ghana during this pandemic. They are a highly populated country, and they live very close together, like in the Philippines. A lot of social interaction every day, but they don't have all the resources for healthcare that we do. Even with the numbers of people who have the coronavirus here and the people who are dying, we still have one of the best medical systems in the whole world. Ghana does not have a great one. And so they may not have the numbers we have right now, people who are sick, but they
definitely don't have the resources we have.
They still have the virus, and without those resources, it's harder to treat it, harder to help people. So you could pray for them, and also that this would be an opportunity for them, like for us too, to share the gospel with people and to use this as a way to point them to Christ. Pray for wisdom about how to end the school year for their Bible college. Like Bible colleges here, thank you. They have had to stop for a while. They shut down a month ago, and right now they need wisdom concerning how to finish this semester. So this is a picture of a couple of their Bible college students, and they just need wisdom how to proceed and probably how to get started for the next year, because if they can't finish everything this year, that might make things a little tricky for the next year. Also, they are praising the Lord that when rain knocked down a part of the wall around their station, that they had the funds to repair it, which is a big praise, because they've had a lot of maintenance things happen there that they have not had the money right away to take care of. So that's a big praise. And their rains there are...
That's some serious rain.
Yeah, those are some big rains. And when you don't have a wall and you do have crime, it's very important that you can be protected. So that's a big praise for them. Pray for wisdom as to which maintenance projects to work on during this time while they are shut down. Like Alyssa and I, who have a little more time right now to work on our house, they have a little more time now to work on maintenance around the college.
And it's a big campus. It's
a
big ground. It's a lot to keep up with.
Yeah, there are not a lot of people there to work on it. A lot of grass to mow, a lot of walls to fix, animals to herd, and a lot of things. Okay, you may not see animals on Bible college campuses here. They do there.
Yeah, that's normal.
Okay, just wanted to clarify that. They are not in lockdown. Just schools and gatherings of more than 25 people are not allowed. So a little different than here. Actually a little more relaxed than what we have. But they still are not supposed to congregate too much. And so they need wisdom how to use their time the best right there. We have a picture of ground nuts. Now they might look to you like peanuts. That is because they are peanuts. But they call them ground nuts, which actually makes a little more sense because they're nuts that grow in the ground. They have nothing to do with peas. Anyway. So, tell us about the ground nuts, Alyssa.
You can eat them boiled or roasted, or maybe your mother could fix ground nut soup. But most of them have never had peanut butter and jelly sandwich, which is what we would think of as a classic peanut butter thing. When we were in Ghana, we had some peanuts that we just bought, or Mr. Mapes bought from the side of the road, and we just kind of snacked on boiled peanuts. It's kind of a different
Not like what you think of when you think of roasted peanuts. A little different.
They're not really my favorite. Maybe because I miss the salt or something. But, or maybe the texture's just weird because they're like soft. But
yeah,
people do like them. Peanut butter there is called ground nut paste. So if you see a jar that says ground nut paste, it's nothing disgusting. It's peanut butter.
And it's tasty.
Yeah. The most common Christmas gift children receive is a new outfit. And if you are very blessed with cash, you might go and buy treats to share with your friends. While we were there, one girl had a birthday, and she gave us a gift.
Yep.
What was that gift?
She gave us like a drink and some crackers, I think.
That's right.
Or a cookie kind of thing.
Yes, she gave us that one special drink.
Yep.
And then some crackers because it was her birthday.
So she gave us a gift.
Yeah. Which is common in some countries to give gifts on your birthday rather than just to receive them. And a common way to celebrate your birthday with your friends is to have water thrown on you while at school.
It's kind of interesting.
I did not see that happen, I don't think. Maybe it happened to that girl. Actually, it might have.
Maybe they did
I
outside.
cannot remember. For some reason, I feel like that might have happened. But this last one. When you lose a tooth, you take it with your friends and you make a wish. And if you can throw it over the house, your wish will come true.
It's better than a tooth fairy.
It is, I guess.
Try to help you have a short house.
Except if you were trying to save your teeth, then you might lose it a second time. So,
it's kind of a fun tradition, though.
yeah, I guess so. I wonder how many people have had their wishes come true. Speaking of which, when I was a child, I swallowed 4 of my teeth. It was really sad. One time when I was eating a sandwich, it came out, and it just wasn't there when I swallowed my bite. Like, oh. And then 3 other times it happened, so I'm missing 4 teeth in my baby book. It's so sad. I think I still got money, but sorry, that was free. It's
bonus.
It's really sad. Okay, so let's go back to the Mapes. Here are the Mapes again. We're thankful that they shared their those prayer requests and praises and information with us. We're thankful that we could spend time with them last year. And I would encourage you to take some time when we're finished here to pray for them and those things that we mentioned. And praise God for some of the things they mentioned too, like having the money to rebuild that wall, because that's might seem small to you, but it's pretty big to them. Next week is week 5.
Yeah.
We are going to cover one more aspect of the Philippines. We're going to hear the end of the story of Tifam, and we are going to review all the missionaries that we've covered in these last 4 weeks. And so be ready for that. If you have any questions that you want us to cover about them that maybe still may be in your mind after hearing about them, let us know in the comments below. That way, by next week, we can get the answers if we're able to. But we hope you'll join us. If you enjoyed watching this, please like the video, subscribe, get notifications so that you know when our next one is out. But for now, remember that we'll be at 9:45 a.m. Sunday mornings. I think for quite a while, because I don't think we're going back to churches anytime soon. But keep watching, keep sharing with your friends. We'd love to have more people follow us and watch this and be exposed to these things around the world. And if we can get enough people watching, eventually we would like to do this live with you so that we can answer questions live, so that we can talk to you in real time rather than just recorded. But we'll see what we can do there. Help us out, and we'll see you next week. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.